Hello, hello, I'm Jordan, and welcome to Andalusia Knits, my YouTube channel where I talk about all things knitting. And today I have a bit of a project vlog for y'all, which is a type of video that I don't do a ton of, but this particular project, I knew this would be the perfect one to document from start to finish because it's such a fun, cute project. So I wanted to give this sort of video a try. And if you enjoy these sorts of project vlogs, please let me know in the comments if you'd like to see more of these because, yeah, I think this is going to be a lot of fun. So basically, I have a concert to play in a little over a week. And so those of you who have been around the channel for a while may have heard me talk about the fact that I play the oboe in a couple community groups. And we have a small children's concert coming up in about 10 days or so at the library. And the theme is Under the Sea, and they want us all to dress as some sort of sea creature. And so the moment I heard that, I knew, I was like, I have to find some sort of knitting pattern. I have to find something that I can make for my costume. So I have decided to knit this amazing fish hat, and I'll post some pattern photos of it right here, which is a design by Thelma Egberts, and it is free on the Knitty website. There are a ton of really great fish hat knitting patterns out there, but I knew immediately that I wanted to do this one for a couple reasons. Mainly because it's done in worsted weight yarn and a pretty loose gauge, so I knew that like it wasn't going to be super time consuming. I knew that I would have time to complete this before the concert. And two, I just love how sort of like almost like stuffed animal-y, or just it looks a little crafty, which is not always a compliment in the knitting world, but in this case it is. I love that it looks handmade. I love that it looks sort of like a well-loved stuffed animal or something like that. So I'm really looking forward to creating this project, and I'm going to take you through step by step every part of the process. And so I'm not going to discuss a ton of the technical stuff. Like I said, this is a free pattern you can find online yourself, but I will go through some of the more interesting design elements of this and just like let y'all see how this comes together because this is going to be so much fun, I think. So I'm going to quit rambling at this point. I'm going to get to the knitting. I'm going to get to the project. But before we do that, if you enjoy knitting videos like this, I would highly encourage you to subscribe to the channel so that you never miss an upload from me. But with that, let's get to this adorable fish hat. So the first thing I needed to do was go out and get some yarn for this project. And in the pattern itself, it does mention that this is a great like scrap buster project. But that didn't really work out for me for a couple reasons. One is as I was going through my stash, I realized I don't have a ton of worsted weight yarn, which is the weight that this pattern calls for. You know, I got a lot of DK, a lot of fingering, a lot of chunky, but for whatever reason, I have been really neglecting my worsted weight yarn in stash. So I didn't have a ton to choose from, and because I'm going to be using this at a performance where I need like it needs to be immediately identifiable as a fish, I didn't want to just like use any like random yarn colors I had. I wanted a coherent sort of like oceany color scheme. So I went to Michael's and the yarn selection was slim pickings and disorganized as usual, but I did manage to find a cute little color scheme in this Lion Brand, what's it called? Lion Brand Heartland yarn. So this is an acrylic yarn, and I'm not always crazy about wearing acrylic, especially since I'm gonna have to wear this at the end of July. But this doesn't feel too bad. The performance will be indoors, so it shouldn't be too terrible. And in terms of acrylic, like I've felt worse. This is not the scratchiest, most unbearable I've ever encountered. And I really appreciate how these different colorways really have a nice like shiny sheen to them. I think that will also help sort of read more oceany and aquatic. But yeah, I think I'm gonna start with this dark blue for the rolled hem section, the lips of the fish. So let's go ahead and get started on that right now. Okay, I have officially finished the short row shaping, and it's kind of difficult to see everything scrunched up here on the needle, but basically it really deeps down dramatically low here in the center and then comes back up on the side, and then the other side of the round is identical to this. And so now it is just a matter of starting the body of the hat. I got several inches to knit before I do any more sort of shaping or anything like that. So it's going to be some pretty basic stockinette in the round for now. But that's okay because now that I have finished the lip portion, I am going to start incorporating some new colors. So that will be fun to get some striping going on that. Okay, now I have finished the plain knitting section and I'm about to start the decreases. And now that I have a little bit more knitting on the needles, you can kind of see like the fish lip short row shaping a little bit better now. And from here, we'll move on to some decrease shaping. And while I mean, it's the same premise as a regular hat. You know, generally a hat decrease is going to be like more rounded at the top, whereas this is going more long and triangular since it's going to be the fishtail. But it's going to be the same premise as a regular hat, just a lot of knit two togethers. So I'm going to start that, and I have started alternating a new color of yarn as well. I'm excited to get some striping going on the body of the fish now. And yeah, it's moving along pretty nicely. No complaints so far. This has been a really fun knit. So now I am officially finished with the main body of the fish. So down here at the bottom we have the fish lips with the short rows, and then I did some different colored stripes as I did the shaping to narrow the body. And most recently I have finished up knitting the tail, which was a quite an interesting construction. As I was doing it, I didn't quite understand like what was going on and how everything was going to like come together in the end. And one of the main reasons that was the case is because after you knit this tail in two pieces flat, you're supposed to seam the pieces together. But for whatever reason, that instruction to seam the pieces of the tail together comes at the very end of the pattern and not at the end of the tail section. So I knit the tail, bound off the stitches, and I had these like two floppy things. I was like, this does not at all look like the sample photos. So I read through the rest of the pattern, and then, like I said, for whatever reason, that's like literally the last thing they tell you to do is to seam up the tail, and that's kind of a key thing. And once I do that, this tail will be a lot cuter, I think. I'm not entirely sure how I'm going to seam up the tail. It doesn't give you a ton of instructions beyond just telling you to seam it together. And so I couldn't quite get things folded and arranged to make it look exactly like the sample photos did. But right now my thought is, so I have you've got these two stockinette flaps with some increases and decreases. And so they kind of naturally just want to fold in half like this. So I'm going to first seam them in half to themselves like this. And then for the first couple rows here at the bottom, I'll connect them a little bit so then they kind of like branch out and poof out near the end of the tail. But yeah, that's not going to be a problem. That will be a pretty fast and easy seam, especially since this is not like a sweater or anything. I don't need it to be like perfectly seamed or anything like that. Now that I have the body of the fish complete, I have a little bit of knitting left to do. So there are three fins that I'm going to add, a dorsal and a couple pectoral fins to the sides and the top of this. And then there are also felt eyes I need to attach. Now it's more about constructing and finishing up the hat. And so after I finished up knitting this, I gave it a try on. And as you will see, it's cute, but it is floppy. It does not want to stay up. And when it flops down in the back like this, it's very difficult to tell what this is and what's going on, and that's a fish at all. And so I've had to start thinking about ways to get this knitting to keep its shape, to keep the fish tail like up in the air like it's about to swallow my head. And so I'll talk you through some of the stuff I've been trying so far to do that. So my first thought to fix this problem was a simple one, and thankfully it has addressed the issue. It's fixed the problem by probably 75% at least, and that is just to include some polyfill in the body of the hat. And so you can buy this stuffing, this filling, as it is in a bag. I just opened up a spare throw pillow I happen to have that had a zipper, and I just ripped some of the filling out of it though to demonstrate. And so basically, I'm just gonna like stuff this up in here, and I'm not going to try to get it like perfectly shaped at the moment, but just sort of like even just a gentle stuffing gives it a little bit more of a structure. Now let's see if I can get some of these lumps out, and then when I put it on, everything stands up. It's still a little weird looking now. Oh my gosh, this thing is so tall. This is gonna be ridiculous. I can't even get the whole thing in there. So it's like standing up better. Like there's kind of like a weirdness in the transition between where the filling starts and where my head ends. So I'm gonna have to figure out something here, but also the eyes are gonna be going in this general vicinity too, so that might be enough to disguise the weirdness. But it's, yeah, I think it's just a matter of like figuring out the correct amount of polyfill to put in this thing. And maybe if I have time and I can find something, maybe something just like a wire or something to run up the middle of this so that it doesn't start to like slump down like higher up instead of near my head. But I'm, like I said, this has solved the problem about 75% so far. I'm happy with the polyfill results so far. It just needs a little bit of finessing, and I think that I can really make this look cute and or stupid. All right, I am very pumped. The body of the fish is officially done. The tail is finished, and I've got it seamed up and stuffed as well. Very cute. And I've been experimenting with like different volumes of polyfill to put into the hat to give it some structure and some body. And I think I've hit about the right amount. And now it's time to move on to knitting the fins. So we're almost done with this thing. And so this thing is going to have a dorsal fin here in the center part of the body right here, and then it'll have two fins as well on either side. And these are pretty simple. Basically, you kind of like fold the hat in half and like isolate a column of stitches that's right in the middle, and then pick up along that line of stitches. And then I'll do some like rapid increases and some ribbing, and that will create the fins. I'm a little worried that the fins are going to flop over, and unlike the tails, they're not like three-dimensional or hollow or anything, so I can't like stuff them with polyfill. But ultimately, I think that'll be fine. I think once all three fins get on here, and once the eyes get on here, it's going to read very much like fish, even if every part is not like perfectly in place like I want it to be. So I'm going to get started on knitting those fins now, and I will meet you when I am done with those. So I am done with the fins now, and I am very pleasantly surprised at how they turned out. And I'll go ahead and lay this one over on its side so you can kind of see what's going on here. So basically for all three fins, you're doing the same thing. You're picking up a line of stitches and then doing some rapid increases in that first round, and then just some one-by-one ribbing for the rest of the fin. And I was a little worried that this was going to make fins that are kind of floppy. And while they're not the most structural things out there, they do kind of stand up on their own. I might run some like paper clips or some light wire through the edges of them just to be safe and make sure they stand up straight. But even when I had the hat on my head, I was kind of pleasantly surprised at how much the fins were able to stay up on their own and read as fins. So pleasantly surprised with the fins. At this point, I think this means that all of the knitting is officially done, and all that's left to do is create the eyes and really figure out the fit and how I want to actually wear this thing. Now it's time for the fish eyes, and I'm going pretty low tech with this. Basically, I am going to use this container of baking powder to trace the shape of the eyes, a circle, on this felt, and then I'm just going to cut it out and weave in some black yarn to create the pupils. And so it's a pretty simple process. So let's go ahead and get started working on that. Now I've got all of the loose strands of the eye on a darning needle, and now it is just a matter of inserting this directly into the center of the stitch that I have marked here. And just FYI, I don't know why anyone would care, I ended up going 10 away from the fin and 15 down into the color block to position these eyes. And so I'm just gonna pull this through. Let me go ahead and remove the stitch marker so that it's not in the way. Okay. Okay. All right, so it's positioned. I can already tell it's probably going to need some more reinforcement besides just this one point, because like the perimeter, the circumference of the eye is very loosey-goosey and not really attached to anything. So I think what I'm going to try to do is tie off these 4 strands together that are coming down into the center in the same stitch, and then I'm going to double up the strands of yarn for the pupil, and these second strands I'm not going to like center them. I'm not going to bring them all into the center. I'm going to let them like fall down, you know, into the stitches closest to where these holes are. And so hopefully that will secure the sides a little bit more. We'll see. I don't know. I might have to do something more than that, but that is my thought about this right now. So it ended up being a little bit of a good news, bad news thing with the eyes. The good news was that I did my idea and it worked out. So I've doubled up the strands, and actually I've just like taken some of the loose ends from the original strands and like weaved them back across. And then secured them in places that are closer to the outside of the eye as opposed to the center. It's still not quite enough. They're not really lying flush with the fabric. And if I didn't do anything else to it, honestly, it wouldn't be the end of the world. Like, this is obviously handmade. Like, I don't care if it looks a little crafty, but I do think I've got some fabric glue somewhere, and so I might just try dabbing a little bit around the edges here and laying them down and seeing if that will keep the eyes a little bit more flush with the body. If not, like I said, this will be fine. I'm running out of time to finish this anyways too, but I do want to give that a try at least just to see if I can get it looking a little bit better. But honestly, like, it's mostly there. Like, I tried it on at this point. I need to do some a little bit more experimenting with the stuffing, but at this point, yeah, the fish is finished at this point. So I will see you back when I have everything ready and I am sporting it. Alrighty, well, we have come to the end. I am pleased to announce that the fish hat is officially done, and I am very pleased with how it turned out. I love this thing. So ultimately, I know in one of the last sections I was talking about some like structural things that I was going to do to maybe try to make it a little more shapely and a little more like fish-like, and ultimately I did not do any of those. I just stuffed it until there was just a few inches left at the bottom for my head to actually go in. And so you'll see, and I'll try to put up some like pictures or images over here that are maybe a little bit more close, or not in a close-up, but that maybe like show the entire fish hat, because it's kind of hard to get it in frame as tall as it is. But yeah, this is about it. So actually, I'm filming this after we've already done the performance. It went well. It was pretty toasty. My head was getting so sweaty under here in this acrylic yarn and all of this stuffing in the hat, but it was definitely worth it. I would say probably about 2/3 of the way through the performance, this thing really started like shifting and around and slipping, and so finally I just had to like call it, and I like took it off of my head and like stuck it on my oboe stand for most of the rest of the concert. Because it just, yeah, it was just a little bit wibbly wobbly after a while. And I was also a little surprised to note that it kind of gave me a crick in my neck. Like when I just like put it on to like take a picture or shoot some video, like I don't really notice it. Like it has weight, but it's not that much weight. But over the course of an hour, and with me trying to like keep it balanced and keep it like on top of my head and not falling off, yeah, I ended up with kind of a little bit of a sore neck wearing this thing for just an hour the other day. But once again, I'm so pleased with this. This thing is so cute. I would absolutely recommend this pattern to anyone. It is free. It's available on knitty.com, which is a great knitting website for free patterns like this. This worked great. Everybody loved it. Very pleased with how this turned out. I'm so glad I did this. And yeah, everyone needs a little fish hat in their life. Now, the original pattern doesn't have any stuffing in it, so I'll go ahead and take the stuffing out of here now and show you what it looks like as intended by the designer. Well, I guess this will be too hard to get the fish or the fin stuffing out. So this still looks very cute. Like I'm not gonna wear this like out in the world unprompted, but you know, like if you want to look like a fish, or if you've got like a kiddo or something who like sort of like costumey dress up stuff like this, when you take the stuffing out, it's still cute. Like, well, you know, after a while people will still recognize it as a fish, but it's not quite as like attention grabbing or crazy looking as it is when it's like all the way up stuffed. But anyways, this is the fish hat, Dead or Alive. And that is on Knitty, and like I said, I will put a link down in the description to this pattern where you can find it yourself. But very happy with this, very happy with the results I got. I'm so glad I did this. I'm glad I was able to get it out in time, and yeah, I can't wait to knit some other costume for myself. Alrighty, well, I think that's going to be it for this video. I hope you had a good time. I hope you enjoyed watching this process as much as I enjoyed creating this project. This was so much fun. If you enjoy vlog style videos like this in general, let me know in the comments. I would love to do more of these if this is something that y'all would like to see more of. And if you want to make sure that you never miss any sort of upload from me, I would encourage you to subscribe to the channel. I upload about a video a week at this point, and several shorts as well along the week. But I think that's going to do it for today. Once again, thanks for tuning in, and I will see y'all in the next one. Bye!